Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Shannon. I am a certified yoga instructor, sound healer, and Reiki practitioner. And today we are going to go through yoga poses that are meant to be supportive and relaxing with the help of one of my favorite yoga props, a bolster. Now, if you don't have a yoga bolster, you can always use a thick pillow that you might even find on your bed. So there are always other cushy options that you can use in place of an official yoga bolster. So grab your bolster. Another thing that I would recommend having nearby for today's practice is a set of blocks. So 2 blocks. I am using foam blocks today, but you can also use thick books if you don't have blocks. And this will just help us in one of our reclined versions of a pose. However, the blocks aren't 100% necessary. So if you don't have blocks or thick books, you can absolutely still do this just with a pillow or bolster. All right, grab your supplies, roll out your mats, and when you're ready, meet me in our first pose. We're going to do a hero's pose. So hero's pose is going to involve using your bolster, placing your shins on either side, and then just kind of sitting your weight back on the bolster. This is going to be a nice supportive way to enjoy this pose. You're going to feel a opening through the thighs as well as the tops of the feet. And you can stay right here for just a few rounds of breath as we settle into our practice today. You can even place one hand on the heart, both hands on the heart, or one hand on the heart, the other hand on the belly. Closing the eyes. And just settling into your breath. Breathing in through the nose. And breathing out through the nose. I love using a bolster in a pose like a hero's pose because it just gives a little more space to the knees, which can be really helpful in a pose where we're sitting back towards the heels. Release tension in your jaw. Release tension in the space between eyebrows. One more inhale. And exhale, release. You can open up your eyes. Now we're going to explore a child's pose with the bolster. So similar kind of a concept. You're going to straddle the bolster and you're going to use the bolster to lay your belly on. And then you're just going to walk your hands forward. Now, you can always readjust your position on the bolster. So if you'd like to have part of the bolster as a little bit of a cushion also for your head, you can do that. So this just helps to elevate the ground a little bit. You can rest one ear and cheek down. And just gently breathing here, cradling the bolster, letting your body be heavy. So this can be a really nice practice to integrate towards the end of your day as you're starting to wind things down. Good. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Now, you've got one ear and cheek down. Go ahead and switch sides so that the other ear and cheek is down. We want to make sure that the neck has an equal opportunity to stretch on both sides. You'll notice my big toes are touching and my weight is shifted back towards the heels, but bolster just helps to create a little extra support here. Good, releasing tension where you can. Letting your body just melt into the pillow or the bolster. And then gently coming up. The next pose that we're going to explore is a supported puppy pose. So puppy pose is somewhat similar to downward dog. And in fact, you can take a puppy pose in place of a child's pose if it feels better for your body. So for example, if you didn't want to lean any weight on your belly, you could take this pose instead. So you'll start in a table, and then your hands are going to walk up towards the bolster. Now, move these blocks out of the way so that you can see. So I've got my bolster in front of me long ways. I'm gonna walk my hands onto the bolster. My hips are gonna stay roughly over my knees, and then I'm just gonna start to melt my heart forward. You can even rest your forehead down on the bolster as well. And then just stretching the upper body and the shoulders. Good, melting, being heavy here. A great one to help if you sit at a desk, rounding forward for long periods of time. Good. One more inhale. As you exhale, and gently starting to come up. Now we'll get into some hip openers. So we're going to start in a low lunge, Anjaneyasana. Now it can be pretty common in a low lunge to have sensitivity in the back knee. We're going to move our bolster back a little bit, but we're going to keep it wide. And we're going to start with the left knee on top. And we're going to walk our right leg forward, coming into a low lunge position. When you're ready, bring your torso up. You can have your hands on your front thigh. And then if you are using a bolster or a pillow underneath the back knee, I like to kind of tuck my toes just to allow my heel to be roughly in line with the rest of my foot and supporting it. But now you'll notice here you have a lot of cushion and padding under that back knee, so it can really help with any knee sensitivity in this pose. And then you can kind of play around a little bit with the tilt of your pelvis. So bringing the pubic bone forward slightly will help to elongate the low back and help to create more of a hip flexor stretch in that back hip flexor. Good. You can keep your hands on your front knee, or you can bring your hands to your heart, or you can reach the arms up, bringing the hands up overhead and letting the shoulders roll down. Good. Breathing here, finding some stability, some spaciousness, opening through the hips and the heart simultaneously. One more inhale. As you exhale, bringing the hands down, moving the front leg back, bringing the knee on the bolster, and then we'll move the other leg forward. So left leg takes a step forward. Good. Tucking the back toes, getting nice and spacious in the low back. You can bring the hands again on the front thigh just to help you get situated here. I'm breathing deep. Playing around with the pelvic tilts. And when you're ready, you're going to have the hands at the heart, or you can lift them up. And just noticing how the second side feels. Noticing how the knee is feeling. Breathing. Nice long breaths. Good. Finding that stability. Finding your center. One more inhale. As you exhale, lowering the hands down. Good. You can step both knees back onto the bolster. And then we're going to come into another hip opener. We're going to come into a pigeon pose. So you want to make sure that you have enough room behind you where you can extend one leg fully long. Now, with supported pigeon with a bolster or a pillow. You're gonna take one leg, we'll start with the right leg, and we're gonna bring it in front of the bolster. And then the hip and glute is gonna be supported by the bolster. And then your back leg is gonna turn long. Good. So here we're just creating a little cradle, a little support for that front hip. Good. You can stay here. Or you can come into more of a folding sleeping pigeon. If you've got blocks with you today, you can place your forearms down on blocks. Or you can remove the block and fold all the way forward, bringing your forearms and head down to the mat. But breathing here, releasing tension. Making sure you're not gazing up because that doesn't feel so great for the neck. And breathing. Never forgetting, never holding the breath. And just letting that tension in your low body melt away. Such a nice supported variation of this pose. Can help make it a little bit more accessible, but the stretch is still nice and juicy. Good, one more inhale. As you exhale, start to come up. And we'll do the other side. So you can kind of roll, moving your front leg back, and then setting up for the other side. So walking the left leg forward. Now I like to keep a little bit of a flex in my front foot because with this bolster, the front shin is a little bit more closer to a 90-degree angle. So you want to flex the foot to protect the front knee joint. Back leg is going to come long. And then you can set yourself up for your supported pigeon. So maybe you use a block here to come down. You can always stay upright as well. You don't have to fold down. Good. Creating a little support in your practice. And starting to breathe. In through the nose. Out through the nose. We oftentimes hold a lot of tension, a lot of stress, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, in the hips. So taking this time to really release in a way that maybe doesn't feel so jarring or so forceful to what we normally do in a practice without props. Good, one more inhale. As you exhale, slowly starting to come up. You can kind of roll your way off the bolster. You can place your blocks over to the side using them. And we're going to come into a forward fold. So I'm going to show a couple different versions of a forward fold today with the bolster. And you can try both, or you can pick the one that feels the best for you. So first we're going to do a Paschimottanasana. Legs are going to be out in front. You can kind of move the sits bones, move the fleshy parts away from the sits bones. And then the traditional version of a forward fold kind of starts to come forward like this, but oftentimes what happens is the back starts to round, and sometimes it can be a lot for the hamstrings. So today, we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a support, a little bit of a boost with the bolster. So one option is you can place the bolster long ways on top of the thighs, and you can start to come down like that. Now, another really great option is to have the bolster at an angle, and then bring the forehead down to the bolster so that you're still folding, but you don't have to fold very far. It's a little more restorative variation. So choose your version of a forward fold. Choose the one that feels the best, the most releasing for your body today. Knowing that that position, it might very well change. each time you step off the mat, that's okay. Good. You can even take some audible sighs here. When we physically make a sound in our practice, when we sigh, it does give ourselves a release. It activates the vagus nerve, calming our nervous systems. So you can feel free to take that type of a breath at any time throughout class, especially if you're at home, there's no one around. Make it as loud and as relaxing as you want. Good. Now you can stay here for a few more moments, or you can try the other version of a forward fold. This one's going to be a wide-legged forward fold. So you'll walk the feet wide, flexing the feet. And then you'll do something similar with the bolster. So you can have the bolster in between the legs and you can fold forward that way. Or you can have the bolster at an angle, forehead resting down on the bolster as you lean your weight into the cushion. So 2 different options here within the wide-legged variation to explore. If the closed-legged variation felt better for you, you can stay there too. The wide-legged version will get a little bit more into the hips, but there is also some hamstring stretching going on. Good. Maybe you take a few sighs here. Just releasing tension in the neck, jaw, shoulders, down the back. Releasing tension down the hips, the legs, all the way down to the feet. Feeling that support. One more inhale. As you exhale, gently coming up. Face first. Now we'll move into a little bit of a heart opening. We're going to move the bolster down into a bridge pose. We're going to actually lift the hips up onto the bolster, walking the heels in, but we have the sacrum supported with the bolster. Good. So not having to effort so much in bridge pose, keeping everything nice and easy. Letting your weight be heavy. Continuing to open through the shoulders. And then when you're ready to come out of it, you'll just kind of start to roll gently off the bolster. And then we'll set up for our next pose, which is going to be a sloping bound angle. So this is where your blocks might come in handy. You don't have blocks today though. You don't have to use the inclined version. You can still lay back on your bolster, but I'm going to show you the inclined version because this can feel quite nice. So you make a little platform with your blocks, and you can choose, maybe having the medium and the lowest block height, or you can decide to do medium and highest block height, making a little tower that goes up one step and then the next step. So you can choose whichever height you'd like to be your support system. And then you'll take your bolster or your pillow and you will gently lay it on your foundation. You want to make sure it's not too wobbly here, that you've got a nice little base, a nice little support. And then you're going to scooch your sacrum right up to the bolster. Good. Now we're going to do a version today that's a little hip opener. So you'll place your soles of your feet together. You'll let your knees come out open to the sides. And then you'll just start to lay back on your cushion. And now your hands can drop by your sides with the palms face up. You could also explore one hand on the heart, other hand on the belly, both hands on the heart. So whichever version feels right for you. You can close your eyes here. You've got an eye pillow. You can gently drape that over the eyes. And just finding a moment, find calm, breathing deep. And when you're ready to come out of it, you'll gently close the knees together and rock over to one side. Gently move your bolster off to the side. You can bring your blocks off to the side as well. And then we're going to set up for a legs up the wall pose. So your bolster is going to be placed right against the wall horizontally. And then you'll start to bring one hip up. So you're sitting on the bolster and your hip is touching the wall. Then you'll gently, and there is a subtle art to this, start to lean back, kicking your feet up. Again, it's a little bit of an art form, so you may have to kind of shimmy your way as you lift your feet up. And it's okay if the bolster isn't totally centered here. And then you can find a comfortable resting position with your arms. So maybe that's out in a W position or a T position. It could be resting one hand on the heart and belly. So whichever version just helps feel the most restorative and restful for you. You can close your eyes. You'll feel the backs of the legs open gently. You can release the clench of the teeth. Here we reverse the blood flow in the body. It can be really good for reducing swelling in the feet. Also just getting a new perspective on things. Reversing blood flow. Helps with the nervous system. Also help with the immune system. And you can stay here for even 5 minutes or longer if you'd like. And when you're ready to come out of it, you can bend the knees, lowering the legs down, gently bringing them to one side. Just nice and gentle as you roll off the bolster. Good job. And then we're going to make our way into a supported twist. So coming back onto your mat. Laying down on your mat. Keep your bolster nearby. Place your bolster in between your knees. Start to lay down. Lift your knees up into a reverse table. Take an inhale. As you exhale, gently bring both legs over to one side. You can stay here, or you can open up the opposite arm into a supported twist. And when you're ready to come out of it, bringing your hands back on the bolster as you gently make your way back into a reclined table. And then we'll gently twist over to the other side. Legs coming over with the bolster supported in between. Option to take the opposite arm out to the side. When you're ready to come out of it, just coming back to center. And then setting up for our final pose today. Two options for Shavasana. One option is to place the bolster underneath the knees. And you can settle in just like this. Second option is to come into Stonehenge, which is a similar pose, but just lifting the legs a little bit higher. This is also an alternative that you can do instead of legs up the wall because it still elevates the legs, but not quite as high. So if you've got your blocks, you can place your blocks next to each other with maybe about 6 inches or so in between them. And then you can place your bolster right on top. Now you've made a little Stonehenge. And then you can drape your legs right over the bolster. And then just gently lay back down. So supported Shavasana, either with the bolster resting under the knees or bringing a little extra elevation in a Stonehenge. Maybe allowing the palms to face up. Maybe bringing your eye pillow across the eyes. And you can stay here for 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or however long feels right for you. Letting your body be heavy. Letting the breath be smooth, flowing naturally. When you're ready to come out of it, gently bringing the legs down over to one side, rolling, and then pressing yourself up. Good. And coming to a comfortable seat. You can even sit on your bolster if you'd like a little extra support on the ground. Just noticing how your body is feeling. With the support of the bolster, you can have both a mix of an active and a restorative class all in one. We create padding, we create support, we create more space. So I definitely recommend that you come back to this class, that you remember these different poses that you can use with a bolster, and that you start to integrate this into your day-to-day practice whenever you need that extra support. So thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Shannon, and I will see you again on the mat soon.